This program today is dedicated to a very beautiful young lady, Mrs. Ella McCarvey. I sometimes don't give people their flowers while they live, and certainly I want every one of you out in Radio Land to give me my flowers while I live. If you have anything bad to say about me, say it while I live so I can hear it and enjoy it. If you have something good to say about me, be sure and say it. Lady Ruth Hunter.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have anything good to say about me today?
Why, sure, I do have. I want to say that I'm happy to know you, and you've been a wonderful person.
Well, thank
and
you.
I'm just so happy that you allowed me at times to be on your radio program.
Well,
I'm just so thankful for that privilege, because if you had not given it to me, I do not believe I would have ever been on radio.
But see, if I don't have you on radio, people call me and ask me, where is Letty? What's happening to Letty? So it's cheaper for me to have you on my radio show.
Well, that I understand, but let me, along with you, congratulate Mrs. Ella McCarvey, because I understand that this program this afternoon is being dedicated to her. And I'm just so happy to know that there's someone, just one person, Clara, that's out there that's saying, go on, and I'm backing you, and I'm helping you, and I'm pushing you, that I do want you to continue to go forward. You know, it's wonderful to know that you have somebody, just a person, that's out there somewhere in this desolated, windswept space that'll say, I'm for you, I'm helping you. So I want to say hats off to Mrs. Ella McCarvey.
Well, thank you. I know she'll be thrilled to death. Letty, I understand today that you were at the AKA's anniversary luncheon. What anniversary was it?
They were celebrating their 50th anniversary, the AKA's.
The local chapter here in Oklahoma City.
The Beta Sigma Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. They were celebrating their 50th anniversary, you know, meaning that they have been organized for 50 years. And Clara, they had a wonderful, wonderful program, and above all, they had a wonderful meal, but they had a wonderful and dynamic speaker.
Who was the speaker?
The lady was Patricia Russell McLeod.
From where?
From Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, wonderful.
Right. And guess what?
No.
She belongs to the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Oh, well, great. One of those AMEs,
right.
See.
She's from Fairfield, Alabama. And she is also a lawyer, I understand. She is a graduate of law from the Howard University. And from her talk, Clara, you could tell that she is an attorney. And I imagine she's a practicing attorney.
Well, what did she talk about, lady, that was so exciting?
Mrs. Luper, number one, when she opened her speech saying, she came forth as a woman. And then she related all of the things that black women has to encounter and all of the things that black women have to do. And then her main topic that she took for the day was Monday is coming. And then relating that Monday is coming, Clara, it was a most unique approach, because she talked about all of the inequities, the lesser jobs that the blacks are getting, and the little opportunities that the blacks are having, and all of the things that she feels that we as blacks should do to help one another to climb and reach to that higher goal and to try to strive and arrive at the higher goals. This is some of the things that she pointed out. And then, you know, she said Monday is coming. And she said, well, you want to start Monday with the diet. So she went on from that viewpoint, all of the things that you would need if you were just preparing a diet. And she gave one statement that really was impressive to me when she said when young people come to her and talk about, oh, I can't go to college and I can't go to school because school is so expensive. And when they're dropped out, they don't worry about getting back into the school. If somebody sends them home, they say, well, I stay out here because this life is easy and I don't have a job anyway. Because she said there was one friend she met that says, you know what, I got a brother with a BS degree and I got another brother with a master's degree and I got another with a PhD degree. But I'm the only one out of all of those three sisters and brothers that I have that has a J-O-B. Now, that is something to think about. What is happening, she said, to our society? But the thing that she told the young people and that she tells the young people, so now if you think education is expensive,
try ignorance.
Try ignorance.
Oh, gracious.
Try ignorance. Because in this life, as we go down the lane, she said you can be traveling down a lane and there's 4 lanes. And you know where you want to get off at the right. And you're in the far left lane. So she's pointed out all of the disasters and the problems that you would have to do to get over here into this right lane. So when you get to the end, you can exit and turn right. And she says, don't you think those people that's between you and the right lane is giving you the chance and the opportunities to just drive over in there? You have obstacles, and you must learn to overcome those obstacles. And that is the way life is. You're going to have obstacles in life. Because if you miss that first right turn, you say, well, I get off at the next one. When you get off at the next one, it may say, no turn. If you miss the second one, she said, and you go on down to the next one, it may say, detour. So we must do things as they come into order. And we must overcome obstacles in order to meet the right turn at the right time. So it was quite an innovating speech that she brought, and I wish it had been 1,000 of young people there to have heard her.
Well, I certainly appreciate your sharing this with our audience. I have some good news for you. Felton Dean, who is one of the most successful black automobile dealers in America, has opened a new dealership in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, on Highway 19 west at Interstate 35 at Pauls Valley. It's called Felton Pontiac GMC. That's what it's called in Lawton, Felton Pontiac GMC. And then in Pauls Valley, it's called Dean Oldsmobile Cadillac. Now, I've got to drive down there and see Felton Dean. He's one of our great supporters, and we're very proud of him.
Well, that's mine, and I want to say hats off to Felton, because I am going to Lawton on Monday to a friend's funeral of mine down there, and I'm going to look up Felton.
Well, go ahead.
I want to see the kind of business that he has, and I might can go in there buy a bolt or a screw.
Well,
let him know that I'm interested in you going into the business.
Well, be sure and tell him that you heard it on the Clara Luper radio show.
I certainly will. And Clara, that is good news. But can I pause now and talk about some bad news?
Okay.
Some sad news. And the thing that will touch all NAACP youth hearts. And our sympathy go out to a dear friend of ours who was Debbie Humbik Matthews. Debbie was a dedicated person. And Clara, I know we will miss her, because when we were going to have our dinner, we could always depend on Debbie preparing the meal for us. And our heartfelt sympathy goes out to the Matthews family and to the Humbik family, because I knew her as a Humbik before she married the Matthews. And I want them to know that I am extending my sympathy to them. But I want them to hold their heads up, because this is not the end of the road. Because there's always a brighter day, and the road is wider at the turn, at the right turn. So I want them to keep on and keeping the faith. And I understand David's funeral will be on Tuesday at the Primitive Baptist Church on Bryant, just across 23rd and Bryant. And to the family, again, I send my heartfelt sympathy. This is my bad news and my sad news.
Okay, we too join you, because Mrs. Deborah Matthews was real close to all of us. She loved children. Her daughter Charlotte served as president of the NAACP, was once a participant in the Miss Black Oklahoma pageant. Now, lady, before I let you go, you know, Dr. Betty Mason was one of the fighters for neighborhood schools.
Yes.
And I noticed she's one of the finalists in Gary, Indiana, where she might become the superintendent of schools. I noticed, too, that the people that have advocated neighborhood schools are trying to leave Oklahoma City. You remember the superintendent of schools that worked so hard for neighborhood schools?
Who's that, Dr. Wright?
Yes, he left Oklahoma City. He's gone down to Texas. Leonard Benton, the president of the Urban League here, has gone to Atlanta. And now Dr. Mason is talking about going to Gary, Indiana. I think all of them should be brought back here and stay and see how the neighborhood school concept come out.
Well, I really do believe that too, Mrs. Luper. And then I'm wondering, why are they so interested in leaving? You know, if I put forth a program, I'm going to hang on in here and see that this program works. But do you think, do you believe, are you thinking that probably they see that neighborhood schools is not a functional school? You know, I had the privilege of talking with a principal who was working in one of my neighborhood schools, and I asked him what did he think about it. And he said, it doesn't work. He said, I'm looking at this problem, this is under 5 years from now. He said, we have enough problems just 1 year. You know, it's been in operation 1 year, and the fourth graders are going to the fifth year center where they're going to an integrated school. And then they are having problems there. Because I don't think, and I don't believe that the teachers at the fifth year center know that this is a big monster. These kids are coming to a monster. They're leaving their little neighborhood schools and going into this great big monster school. It's just like a monster there with his mouth open and the teeth ready to gash into them. That they have to make adjustments to that before they can make adjustments to the classroom. I don't think I know that. But this principal said it's more than that, Mrs. Hunter. So you're looking at it at 1 year, and this concept you have is good. He said, but I'm looking at it 4 years from now. These kids will be here for 4 years before they would get that exposure. And if it's a monster now, what will it be 4 years from now?
And speaking of that, Mrs. Hunter, I'm kind of upset with you.
What?
You didn't tell me that you're on that equity committee. You didn't tell me that you had displaced Elton Matthews and replaced him with Dr. William Curtis. You didn't tell me that.
Mrs. Luper, that was just as much surprise to you as it was.
Well, you're a member of the equity committee. You're telling me you're a member and you don't know what's happening?
I did not know it was happening. I called down there and I said, may I speak with Dr. Elton? He said, he's not here anymore. I said, he's not there? What are you saying? They said, no, he's the assistant principal out at Star Spencer. I said, out where? Because, see, in our equity committee, they had said that they wanted to combine the two. We said we didn't see how it could possibly happen. That the equity committee could function as an equity committee and function as an affirmative action committee at the same time. And I still feel that it's impossible.
Oh, so he's an equity affirmative action administrator.
That's right. He's a combination. That's right.
Well, we'll have some equity now. Did Dr. Elton Matthews do his job?
He did a beautiful job. I was only there with him 1 year, and then I was looking at the reports that was turned in the year before. And from that, Mrs. Luper, I felt he had done a wonderful job. In fact about it, when they got ready to close all of these schools, and I said, now why are they closing the schools? And I said, did you all build this monster? Did you all know this was going to happen? But you know, when they got ready to close the schools, we didn't know it. We read it in the paper and heard it on the news.
Well,
the equity committee did not know.
Well, I told you and the other members of the equity committee that was just a sham. Your equity committee is not doing anything. Let them have to go now.
But let me, yes, you're right.
I'm right. Y'all aren't doing anything.
But you know, no.
Wait a minute. Am I right?
This is what I said last year when I was on the committee. I hope that we get more input this year. But I told him, I said, we are just like sitting ducks. And he said, no, we're not sitting ducks. I said, no, we're not. We're like the pigeons, the flying pigeon. You know, you throw the pigeon out and you shoot at it. Sitting ducks, you may have a chance to run as well as flying. But the pigeon, you know, they're going to throw them up, and you won't have a chance. So this is what I told him. So this year I hope the equity committee will be a little more. And you found out that Betty is leaving, and we were right there, and I had not found it out.
But look here. You're telling me, when does the equity committee meet?
Well, we have a regular meeting. We meet on...
Have you met this year?
Yes, we've had 2 meetings this year.
Oh, well, good. Mm-hmm. Well, when you all meet again, you tell them Clara Luper say you all were not doing anything. Bye, lady.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That equity committee was supposed to see that everything be carried out. I haven't seen any new stores. I haven't seen any new restaurants. I haven't seen all of the equity that they've been talking about. Well, there are a lot of things that I haven't seen. But I do know that Dr. A.L. Dowell's office is at 934 Northeast 8th Street here in Oklahoma City, and I'm expecting to hear from Dr. A.L. Dowell. I want to hear Dr. Dowell's voice. I want to see what Dr. Dowell is thinking. I know he's one of the great. He is one of the great optometrists. I know that. And I'm going to be sure and get Dr. Dowell here on the air. Yes, I want Dr. Dowell. Dr. Dowell?
Yes, ma'am. How are you, Miss Luper?
This is Clara Luper, and I'm really feeling good. I have on these beautiful glasses that you made for me, and I can read anything.
Well, that makes me feel very gratified.
Well, you are a great optometrist. I'm really proud of you.
You're very kind.
I wanted you to talk to me today about services at your office.
Well, I try to render the best service that can be given.
Will you talk up just a bit for
I
me?
try to render the best service that can be given anywhere. I try to render a complete service, the restoration of vision where people have lost their vision. I try to bring out the vision which they do have available, and I work with children to improve their vision so that they will do better in the schoolwork. And any vision problem you have, I try to take care of it as best it can be done.
All right, now tell me, do you have certain lens?
Oh, yes, I have all types of lens.
Well, how do you go about deciding on what type of lens that
Well,
will
I
suit?
try to examine the person to find out whether they're nearsighted, farsighted, whether they have astigmatism, or other...
Now, doctor, don't throw those large words on me. I'm from Hoffman. I don't know what astigmatism means.
That's where they don't see clearly.
Okay.
Because there's more than one focus in the eyes. And as a result of that, they just don't see clearly. Vision is a continuous blur of varying degrees. And I try to take care of that. I take care of it. And I improve that vision. And once that vision is improved, they're an improved person psychologically, mentally, and in many respects. It's a great thing to be able to see clearly. And that's what I endeavor to do.
There are many people that have had a problem or problems understanding that if they are on any kind of government assistance, can't they get some special prices on their glasses?
Well, I belong to that group where the silver-haired group, the senior citizen that is, they give them a discount when they come in. And then whether they had a silver-haired group or not, my heart dictates. And because of my spiritual well-being, I try to do what I think is just and proper for my brothers and my sisters. The good Lord demands that I do that.
Well,
I'm glad to do so.
how about children that are on special aid programs?
All children can get their glasses if they belong to, they have what they call welfare or human services money coming into them. And I can take care of all of those.
You're saying that I can bring those children into your office and get them examined free and
Yes,
glasses
ma'am.
fitted free?
We are glad to do that.
Well, what do I do first? Call and get an appointment?
It's best to call so you wouldn't have to come and sit and wait. And you bring your child in, and we give them a complete examination. And then we are able to make the glasses for the child, and they come back and get it. But the tragedy of this situation, so many parents say, well, I didn't wear glasses when I was a child. And the child doesn't need glasses. But they couldn't be more mistaken. They are wrong. Children need glasses just like adults. And another thing that they don't realize, the visual demands today are much greater than they were 10 years ago, than they were 20 years ago. And it can't compare when I was coming along many, many years ago. So the studies are more difficult. The studies demand that you read a lot, and the children should be able to see. And a great many children can't see, and the parents think they are seeing. But the only way they can tell is to come in and have a thorough examination and get all those visual inadequacies corrected and send the child out a new person.
How often should a child be brought in for an eye examination?
They should be brought in once a year. Adults should be examined once a year. But children more specifically should be brought in once a year because they are growing, they are making rapid changes, and their body's developing, and they should be corrected. They should be examined once a year, at least once a year.
Well, I'm happy that you told us so we'll know. You're supposed to come in once a year for an eye examination.
That's right.
Is it true that all I would have to do is just dial 235-0536?
That's right. That's the correct number, and come in. We'd be most delighted to have you. And each case is a challenge, and we enjoy the challenge.
Well, I'm happy that you enjoy the challenge. Now,
Well,
okay, I'm sorry.
You are so kind, Miss Luper, to try to help to make this information available to the public because a lot of people don't know that they can get these services free of charge. Then again, there's a great percentage which they know it, but they won't take the time to bring the child or send the child in. And this is very, very sad because the child needs glasses, and they'll send a child to school who can hear, they smell, and they use the other five senses, but they don't have a visual ability. They can't see.
Well, I was talking to a parent who had some children on welfare, and the parent said to me, "Clara, I'm just ashamed to go in." I said, "Shame? Do you know that we are the only people in the world that have not collected any money? We came to America and worked over 200 years without a paycheck. So don't be ashamed to get welfare. Don't be ashamed to get anything that this government is pushing out. Anytime a government can go into Germany, into West Germany namely, and help them rebuild their economy, go into Japan and help them, you mean to tell me you can't help your own citizens get eyeglasses?"
That's right. That's so true. That's so true. Well, they shouldn't be ashamed to come in. They should be ashamed if they don't come in. They should be very ashamed. Because you can't treat your child like that. You should give your child a fair chance. And he certainly doesn't have a fair chance if he can't see. And you just can't look at an individual and say, well, he can see or he can't see. He must be measured by standard means, professional means. Take your time and do that. And then you can tell the parent the condition of the child's eyes and what can be done.
All right, now, Dr. Dowell, I've talked to you about your profession, the opportunities that are available to the public just by dialing 235-0536. I talked to you this morning. I attended a CCL NACP conference with the city councilman from Midwest City. And at that time, I brought your name up.
Oh, what'd you say?
I asked the city councilman Stilt if he would stand up for black people at Tinker. The whole situation revolves around the fact that the general will not meet with black people. Now, the city councilman bragged about the organizations that he belonged to. He had been in Oklahoma 17 years, and some people consider him as an outsider. See, I didn't even know that people were considering him as an outsider, because the fact that we all have black skin has put us in the same boat. But he explained all of that, and he wanted us to drop the idea of meeting with General Biden and just go on and let him more or less serve as a negotiator. Well, Senator Porter and Reverend W.B. Parks so eloquently explained the two organizations' position. Well, I thought I would give him some history, since I'm a history teacher.
Certainly.
And I say to him, I say, in Oklahoma City, we had a black councilman named Dr. A.L. Dowell, and we were fighting for a simple right, the right for blacks to live anywhere they wanted to in this city, including Midwest City. And our councilman stood up. I'm not talking about in words. He stood up and said he was going to stand there until we got a fair housing ordinance. And what I'm asking you to do, Mr. Councilman, will you stand up for us? And that's what I did.
Well, I'm glad you did. This is the one thing, Mrs. Luper, that makes my heart bleed, and I'm saddened by so many hypocritical acts such as you have just explained. Now, he said that people call him an outsider. How could they call him an outsider when they were dear enough to him to elect him to become a councilman?
Well, that's what I was thinking,
number
too.
one. And then number two, if he's in leadership position, he must stand for what is right. He must stand for the advancement of all people. And he shouldn't try to keep us enslaved. And the tragedy of this whole thing, I notice it again and again. Now that you, Mrs. Luper, help open the doors of the restaurants and the hotels and jobs downtown, a great percentage of those same people won't give one dime to the NAACP. A great percentage of those people don't even vote. A great percentage of those people don't have personal pride. I'd rather have my pride after I have my thorough deep faith in religion and deep faith in our Lord and Savior. Then next come my personal pride. And a person without pride, regardless of how much money, how much wealth they may have, they are not anything. And so we must keep tramping, like that old Negro spiritual, tramping, tramping. We must tramp on our pathway for justice. We must tramp on our pathway for human rights. We must tramp on our pathway for personal dignity. And we can't stop just because a few restaurants have opened. But so many of the people have forgotten about that they must pay a price. And if you want to do something worthwhile, the larger that thing is, the more you must suffer for that. And I don't mind suffering for righteous cause. I don't mind suffering for just causes. But too few people have that attitude.
Well, the city councilman told us today that he would not stand with us. So he's standing with the white congressional delegation. He's standing with General Bowden. He said that he cannot see why meeting with the general is so important to us. And the committee members this morning explained to him that we are citizens. And if the general can meet with the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis, the Chamber of Commerce, anybody else, he should meet with us.
That's right. That's
so
right.
We sent a message back to General Bowden that he will not select our delegation for us.
That's
and
true.
We are going to
That's
meet
true.
with the general at Tinker Field. We are going to meet one way or the other. I don't know how.
Well, you're on the right track, and we must continue to pursue the course, because as long as we have half slave and half free, as long as we go along and turn our heads the other way and let these inequities persist, we're going to be at the bottom of the ladder. And we must do those things which will guarantee us first-class citizenship so we can walk with our heads high. I tell you the truth, it would be hard for me to be an Uncle Tom. It would be most unbearable for me to go against my race. When I just heard the great debate on the Bork selection to the Supreme Court, and they tried to get him in. But when you hear men from Arkansas, the United States Senator from Arkansas and the one from Alabama, stated that they were all mixed up about blacks. And the man from Arkansas said, I thought at one time the black would rub off. And he said, when we got sense enough to go along and the blacks told us to let them have equal rights, and we did, he said, I'm living the best days of my life. And he said, no black is rubbed off on me. We are getting along. The state is better. I feel better. And he says, I don't want to go backwards, and therefore we can't have Bork turning the clock back. He says, I'm for the black, I'm for the white, and we're going to walk arm in arm and go forward, continue, and we're not going back. Therefore, I'll have to vote against it. Similar words were echoed by a senator from Pennsylvania, from Florida, and when white senators from the deep South will come out for what is just and proper, it makes me sick at my stomach when blacks will be asking, let us go back to the cornfield. Let us go back to the horse and plow. We don't want to go forward. That's just like this sophisticated group of black educators in Oklahoma City who are trying to put us in the black schools and the white schools, back to the short chalk days. This is despicable. And I would hope that we would open our minds and open our hearts and have some self-respect than to try to get a few pennies in our just to get a few pennies in our pocket, we'll sell the entire race.
Well, I think white people respect you when you stand up for what's right. And I think some of the mistakes that we have made in race relations they've been getting the wrong message. And I wanted to make myself crystal clear with David Bourne. That's why I called his office yesterday to let him know that we knew that he was not interested in the welfare of black people. We watched his debate in the Martin Luther King bill, finally voting for it when he found out that he couldn't stop it. And we watched him very carefully on his bark. And there were only 2 Democrats in the whole United States that voted for Bork. And one of them was the grinning, chubby senator from Oklahoma, the senior senator. Senior in racism in Oklahoma.
Well, the next move is up to the black community, the black people.
And the women in America, because he voted against women.
That's right. And but I tell you what you're going to find, sadly as it might seem. You're going to find these big shot Negroes and a few others running around here. As soon as the senator come back and start campaigning for another 6 years, they're going to be saying, let's forget that, let's forget that. But when a man has kicked you in the pants where you sit and has thrown dirt in your face, you are less than a human being, less than a man, if you don't do something to defend yourself. In other words, he has shown us he cares nothing for us. He has shown us we are not even counted. And as a result, the human thing to do, the proper thing to do, and the polite thing to do is to vote him out. Vote him out. And they say, well, the black people can't do it. Well, with the competition that will be going on during the next election, a swing vote along with the large amount of Negro voters we have would be enough to turn the tide. This is embarrassing. I've had calls from out of state. Your senator, is that Senator Bourne? He said, I thought you had a pretty good state. But it's embarrassing to me personally. It's embarrassing to me when I talk with people from out of the state and tell me that Senator Bourne supported Bork. This is a bad thing.
But certainly we have made our feelings known, and we don't care who know it. Isn't that right?
No, I don't care who know it. I want them to know it.
Well,
I don't want to be a question about me.
Well, there's no question about where we stand.
That's right.
That's
right.
We stand together, and together we stand, right?
You know one thing, Miss Luper, I've never said this publicly. I've got many compliments from some of the strongest people in this state. They said, I want to thank you for the lesson you taught us about race relation. I used to hate you. I used to dislike you. But you try to stand for right. And now I can see your point of view. Now suppose, what do they tell the Uncle Toms? What do they tell those people who do something just to keep that little old job? You got to put everything else behind. It's just like salvation. You can't have no little petty things that you do and be right with the Master. I mean the Heavenly Father. You have to shed all those coats of sinfulness, all those areas, and come straight and clean with Him. And it's the same way in government. You have to let the people know where you are. Don't be hypocritical and try to butter your bread on both sides, but you must stand and be men and women. I may not have fortune, I may not have many things, the luxuries that others have, but one thing I try to have is decency and personal respect. Nobody can take away or steal my decency. Nobody can take away my personal respect. I love to see people who will stand for what they believe. And if our race is to go anywhere, if our race is to grow, we must have individual and collective dignity and respect for ourselves and for our families and for our communities and our God.
Dr. Dowell, it's been so kind of you to take time out from your busy schedule to visit with Clara Luper.
Oh, I'm always delighted to be a part of your activity, Miss Luper. You have done so much for so many, and I pray often that the Lord will bless you and continue to bless you and your family.
Well, I really appreciate that, because if you have anything good to say about me, I want you to say it while I'm alive. And speaking of while I'm alive, we will be showing Brother President the story of Dr. Martin Luther King at Freedom Center tomorrow at 3:30, and we would like to invite the public to be present.
Well, I wish you much success, and may the Lord bless you continually. You, your family, and all of your friends.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Luper.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
I really enjoy hearing people talk about Clara Luper. I enjoy. And when you pray for me, be sure and call, give my name to God. Give it to me so that God will know that you remembered Clara Luper. And I want you to eat some soul food. You can go to Rose's Restaurant. Rose's Restaurant is located at 217 Northwest 23rd Street. And when you go there, be sure and tell them you heard about that good old soul food on the Clara Luper radio show. This is Clara Luper, and how are you?
I'm fine. This is one of your friends who love you dearly, Ann Slaughter.
Oh, Ann, I love to hear that. I just want to hear some good things about me. I love it.
Well, you see, Friday, I have some of your students in my class, and I was made to feel so good because one of them said, my God, she's just like Clara Luper. And that made me feel good because you are one of the educators in the world, I'm talking about the world, that really reach down in those kids and bring out the very best in them. You do not accept I can't, and neither do I. And I want you to know that I am your sister in Christ. We belong to the same church. I'm your sister in blackness, and I'm your sister because God told me to be, and I love you very, very much, Clara.
Well, thank you so very kindly.
So now you got your flowers.
I want my flowers.
Okay.
Okay, then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And speaking of that, really, I'm flowers now. Flowers do not have to mean the things that bloom. It can be in kindness. It can be in love. It can be in respect. I want you to be sure and remember. So many of you have called me about the Reverend Milburn's trial. That trial will be held on December the 7th. Now, those of you that will be attending that trial, remember it's December the 7th. Those of you that are interested. I was down to the Correction Center, Joe Harp, this weekend, and I will be telling you some of the things that those men told us. I was down there as part of a delegation from the community in which the inmates told us what was wrong with us. And I want to thank you, inmates. I'll tell you just like I told you the other night, you are exactly right. Clara Luper. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Clara, this is another one of your friends.
Well, great.
This is Lucille Williams.
Yes, Lucille, I've talked about you so much on radio.
Well, first I want to give you your flowers because you are due them.
Well, give them to me, darling.
Yeah, you are one of the greatest people. You have done more for your race and other races than anybody that I know.
Oh, great.
And we just appreciate you so very much.
Well, you know, I appreciate you, Anna, Mrs. McCarver, and all of the people that have helped me. I owe people so much. And I'm just so happy to see you back on your feet running again.
Well, I am just happy to call you to give you your flowers, and I wondered if you would allow me to thank all the people that have been so gracious to me since I have been ill.
Oh, yes.
I have been indisposed since the 1st of February. And I'd like to thank my family, friends, neighbors, church members, members of other churches and ministers all over this city, Oklahoma, Texas, Illinois, and California for their prayers, cards, flowers, food, visits, phone calls, and monetary gifts. They have just been so good to me. And I'd like to thank each and every one of them.
Well, look here. It's one person you didn't mention, and that was the most interesting person I've ever seen. I was out to the hospital during your illness, and I saw your husband. I have never seen a husband that acted like your husband. He called you his partner. Where? My partner. I've got to stay out here with my partner.
He really did. He stood by me. He came as much as 4 times a day sometimes. And part of the time I didn't know he was there. I learned later that I knew that he came every day. He didn't miss not one day. And he prayed for me and kept things going here at the house. And my children were just most loyal. My sister and brother-in-law, they just stood right by my side. And so I just appreciate this and all of my friends who came to my aid.
Well, we are so happy, and we love you so very much.
Well, thank you. We love you, and we respect you, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so very kindly. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and at this time, here's Alicia. Alicia.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Alicia Hildreth bringing you some good news. My Uncle Leon Hildreth was released from Oklahoma Memorial Hospital today, and I hope for him a speedy recovery. This is Alicia Hildreth reporting for you, Insurance Agent Merlin Hildreth. You may call her at 848-7470. She sells life insurance, automobile, and home insurance. Alicia Hildreth reporting.
Thank you, Alicia. Once again, the Enterprise Square Place is located at 4901 North Martin Luther King Avenue, where you can pay your bills. Those of you that have not read Behold the Walls by Clara Luper, please purchase a copy. All you have to do is call me at 424-3949. I would like to salute the students at Northeast High School, the principal, and teachers. Your homecoming was outstanding. Now I would like to speak to the parents. We have had fights at Northeast and other schools in Oklahoma City school system. I don't think you parents are being fair with yourselves. I think it's a disgrace that the parents are not attending these games where they can supervise their own children. Last night, I saw a young man walk up to another young man and pop him on the head. That started a gang fight. Now, if the parents had been there, it would have been different. So today I'm calling upon you parents. These are your children. Don't tell me what you don't have time to do. You had time to get these children, and you have got to have time to go and see about them. That responsibility should not be on the school at night. Policemen should not have to walk up to our children and tell our children to move. We've got to do it ourselves. Clara Luper reporting. Hello?
Report.
Yes, David.
Yes, I'd like to say next weekend will be Central State's homecoming. And we'll be playing Angelo State. And I want to encourage all the Central States to come support the Broncos. And I'd like to congratulate Pinky Hurley for a great game tonight. But we lost, but we played a good game. And I also like to report to encourage all the blacks at Central State to support the African American, which meets on Monday nights at 7:30. And if you need more information, you can call me at 341-2980, extension 4375. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
This is Clara Luper, and once again, I'm talking to the parents. Parents are going to have to take on some responsibility. If your child is at a game cursing, that child is representing you and your training. I don't think we should place the responsibilities on anyone for our children but ourselves. I call upon the parents, let's get behind it, let's stop these fights. Why would one child walk up and hit another child? What's wrong? Why can't we play with the same dignity as other groups? I would like to salute Mr. Alvin Jernigan at Northeast High School, and I call upon you people to give Mr. Jernigan anything that he wants. That man has the best marching band in this state. Now, it's no use of fooling around. Give him his flowers. He doesn't have to do it. I know at John Marshall, I haven't seen my band at John Marshall participating in things, and Mr. Jernigan expose your children to everything, and therefore I'm asking you to give him his flowers while he's living. This is Clara Luper. Don't forget, tomorrow Sylvia Driggins will be honored at the Blue Room at 4 o'clock p.m. She's resigning as the pageant director for Hal Jackson, and she will be pursuing her career in the arts.